Yeah, because we don't. I don't stream this, so this is just a recording that I'll post on the Loxo group if we talk of anything exciting. So does anybody want to talk about anything new with Loxo or deals or the new Chat GPT or anything like that?
Or the new Loxo community?
Yeah, or the new Loxo community.
What is that?
Or Loxo, not Loxo.
Didn't I invite you?
Loxo
Talk. Loxo Talk.
I don't know anything about it.
Me and Ernie started another Loxo group. I invited you, and I'll invite you again if you didn't get it. But we started a new Loxo group that's more like just us, where we don't have to, because the Loxo group that we're all in is managed by Loxo, right? So if you want to post something, it takes for hours for your post to get approval. So if you have a quick question to ask, you can't get it answered and stuff like that. So Ernie and I were like, let's just start a Loxo group that's all of us. And then that way we can share ideas and we're not under the quote unquote prying eyes of Loxo. I mean, I don't think it's a problem. Nobody here is anti-Loxo. And I think that's what Loxo was trying to stop with that group.
Right.
And I get that. You don't want, other ATS people coming in there and causing ruckus. And so Ernie and I are moderators of the group, and we're going to try and keep that as well. I only invited people from the Loxo group that I knew. Because I don't want, also Ernie and I were talking about it, I don't want to get mad at me thinking we're trying to do stuff behind his back, but that Loxo group has a ton of members but has no activity because of how hard it is to post it there. So
they just started giving up on it.
Send me the invite when you get a chance. I don't remember seeing it. I did want to talk a little bit about the new Chat GPT function or feature, I should say. I played around with it a little bit. What I'm seeing and what I found is a lot of the suggestions it gives you, it's not the type of speak I would use in an email or a text message. So I found myself editing each one of the sequences, each one of the stages to the point where I don't even know if it was worth me doing it in the first place. And I tried different click to retry again, or whatever in each one of the stages. Did anybody else have any better luck?
I'm with you on that. It did a good job, but it needed a lot of tweaking to make it sound like me. I feel like for someone who doesn't do a lot of outreaches, it gave me a good starting point, right? Of stuff that I wouldn't do, and then I fixed it to make it feel better.
Yeah, I haven't used it that much, but I've tried it a couple of times. But I'm still at the point where I'm trying to get that Loxo extension, and I seem to have had problems getting that for the
extension.
Yeah, the .oi or whatever, the .io via Loxo.
What are you talking about, Ernie?
When you send out an email.
Oh, he's talking about Mailgun, the Mailgun server. So when you send an email via Loxo, so you don't look like a spammer.
Yeah, and I
you select it when you're setting up.
He doesn't have access to it.
No, what I did was I had them. They're doing it for me, and there was some sort of problems with how I registered my domain.
Gotcha.
Okay. They're trying to fix that. So I really haven't. I kind of stayed away from it because I don't want to be called a spammer before I get a chance to be anti-spammer.
Right.
Yeah, that was, I remember Ernie mentioning that he did not have access to the via Loxo option on sending an email. And I actually had that same problem too, not too long ago. And it was a issue with GoDaddy and some setting within the when I go to you go to GoDaddy and all this DMR, MX, blah, blah, I was missing something and they gave it to me. I put it in and it worked perfectly after that. Yeah, so I don't know, if Ernie had the same issues, but mine was working fine for years. And then all of a sudden I started getting tons of undeliverable, yada, yada, yada. And then I noticed that I couldn't pick via Loxo for all my emails. And it was just a setting on my side. And once I fixed that, it was fine.
But go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
When we go to the automation stuff, with the GPT within Loxo. Even though I look at that and I run it off or tried it, I feel I can change it, but it encourages me at least a little bit to play with it more. Where I had totally abandoned the whole thing of the campaign. What I have a problem with, or something, if someone responds to you, it stops the campaign, does it not?
Correct.
Yes.
So
And there's no way to turn that off.
But does the response also work when you when they open an email?
No.
They have to
it's just alert. Yeah, it just alerts you they open the email. It's when they respond to you is when it's going to turn it off for them.
Also, if you
It'll
get a
take 'em-
kickback
right.
to like any type of reply, whether it's automatic, like they're out of office, that's the one thing too. Like out of office replies will stop the campaign. Kickbacks will stop the campaign. So yeah, any type of reply to your email will stop the campaign.
And one other thing with that is when you do one of those GPT, I remember, and I started looking at this where Tom said that it doesn't provide your full signature on an email.
Yeah, it does. You have to
it does.
enable it at the bottom. It's off. If you look at the bottom of each stage, right now it defaults to off. Your email signature is off, so you got to click enable it, turn it on. That's all, and it will auto populate whatever you have in your Loxo signature in the Loxo signature field. I found out
have you
that
checked
way
it?
too.
Because I think they turned it back on to automatically populate.
It wasn't as of this morning because
it wasn't.
I was doing it with one of my recruiters this morning, and it wasn't.
Oh yeah, mine is though.
Oh, it is.
All mine are checked. Yeah, all mine are checked. So again, I don't know how you're doing. Like here, I'll show you real quick. I don't know how when you're sending the email, but so if I go into this guy right here, you guys see it? And I click on email right there, like this pops up, and then right here, they're all checked.
Those are all checked, yeah. But how about within the campaign though? When you're outsourcing, when you're doing the outreach.
You're doing the outreach. It should be the same. Your signature's on at the bottom, Tom. See where it says include signature? It's on. So maybe when you first enable it to be on, maybe future outreach campaigns it'll stay on. You don't have to change it.
I've never had to turn my signature on. I was bummed because they turned it at one point. I thought, I'm sorry, and I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about the open stuff, because before these all used to be checked, and then like a month ago they weren't. You had to go in and check each one you wanted. And I sent them a message like, hey, can you turn those back on? Oh, no, you manually have to do that. I'm like, hey, if you go back and look, they used to always be turned on and you had to turn them off manually. So I guess they fixed it.
So how did you get that to default to all of them checked? Was it in your settings, or is that automatically doing it now?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know that a couple months ago, they were all unchecked. I complained, and now they're all checked.
Right. Because we had talked about that. We had talked about that, and then you had mentioned it to them that we'd rather have it checked.
Yeah. So there it is again.
Yeah, I wonder if they did something in your settings. I'll have to look into that, because I know mine, I manually check, click.
Yeah.
Track open and track click.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is I kept forgetting to click track opens, right? So if I would want to send an email to somebody that I wanted to make sure they got my email, and I forgot to do that, I was like, damn it, I forgot to do that. So now it's automatic. Yeah. My biggest problem, man, and I will tell you this, is that I keep forgetting to send emails from Loxo because I'm working through Outlook. I'm emails are coming in, and then I'm replying to them or and then I'll send a new email or whatever. And I keep forgetting to send stuff through Loxo. I know it syncs, but I like it better because of the opening, because I don't have open set on Outlook. I mean, because you actually get like a read receipt. This sender wants to know if you want to see it, whereas with Loxo, it just automatically does it. So I keep forgetting to use Loxo, like to send a resume or to initiate a new conversation. So
I try to get everybody to stay within Loxo, and especially if they're reaching out to candidates about a job, I want them to reach out to the candidates in whatever workflow stages they're in within a job. This way, when the email or whatever goes out, it stays tied, associated to that job. Because if you don't, and you just send an email through Loxo off of their person record, and you're not in the job itself, it doesn't associate to that job.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I push that too. Like, work through Loxo because you'll see it. I'm sorry, work through Loxo because it's going to help you organize better. And once you get down to it, you'll be able to see who you did where versus trying to go through all the history and see, did I send an email for that job? Like, I agree 100%, Tom. Go ahead, Ernie.
And just as a quick note, I then, when they're in the pipeline and you've done that, I will write a highlight that says sent. I sent, and I'll put the E, and I'll put a date, so that if I write a report, I look at it, and I look at the pipeline, I get to see my little notes there that tell me, okay, they sent this, I sent this on the 3rd, and not necessarily that it's in a campaign of any sort, but but I get to look at it and say, okay, Wednesday I sent this guy an E, now I can call him back, or it's been a while, it's been like, it was a month that passed, I get to talk to the guy and find out. So now I can go back and see if he's available. But I find that highlight thing for me is really important to get the notes I want in there. And then if I need to run a report, I can run a report using the highlights, so I can tell somebody.
Has anyone had any breakthroughs or epiphanies when it comes to business development in Loxo and workflow?
Not yet.
Not yet.
You know, one of the things I was asking it was, how do you do an MPC within Loxo?
You can't.
And well, but I asked her right now, and her response was basically, and number one, some of the folks that are probably customer service are probably didn't understand what an MPC was, because we do. But I just put an MPC is submitting one confidential candidate to senior leadership in many companies at the same time via email. The purpose is either to get an interview for the candidate that was the subject of the confidential email, or to begin a conversation about recruiting for the company. How can that be done in Loxo? And her response was, hi, Ernie, we suggest creating a campaign the same way you would do any other campaigns, and just adding that one confidential candidate to it.
You could do that, but how do you track
The workflow.
the workflow, who it's going to?
Yeah.
I don't see how you can do that.
I'm using lists right now. I'm using lists. That's how I'm doing it. And then that's the only thing I've got. And then when I finally get a meeting, then I put it in deals. But to do an MPC.
Yeah, that was the one I think we all kind of figured works the best. Is lists. And the other one, companies, like going to the company page and making a list within companies of your 50 business development companies. That way, that was the other. I don't know if you were talking about lists in companies or lists in people, Sandra.
I have a list in both. So I tag like healthcare software companies. I have a list of them, and then I also have a list of non-hiring managers, hiring managers, and executives. I have 3 separate lists. So I'll do an MPC campaign to the executives, for example. And then once I get a meeting out of that list, then I put them in deals. But that's the only way I've been able to figure it out. I don't like using a fake job just because it's like counterproductive if you're trying to look at your metrics. Because now you have a fake job that's going to, and I think the whole point of reporting is to know what your numbers have to be. So that's the only thing I could come up with, and it seems to be working okay. But I really wish that they would put a pipeline on deals like they do with the job pipeline. So you could do, and I don't know how many of you guys do this, but do you do a lot of pre-recruiting? Like if you see, oh, I know company XYZ, if they ever heard, if I ever find a candidate X, they would want to hear about it. Well, where do you put that candidate? what placeholder do you have? So that's kind of what I think would be a great pipeline feature. And honestly, the technology's got to already be there because you already have it. You know what I mean? It can't be that complicated because
why can't they just copy jobs?
Yeah,
Why
it's the
can't they
same
copy
thing.
jobs?
Exactly.
And rechange the workflow because I have source shortlist outbound to blah 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 blah.
Right.
I don't get that. Like, why I can't have a duplicate? Like, just go in there in their engineering department and say, okay, take the job section, make an identical one, change the workflows to different names, and call it business development.
Yeah, that would be like so smart. No other ATS system does that. And I've tried many. I've tried many over 30 years of recruiting. I've been using ATS systems since 1991 when Bullhorn first came out with a desktop. So I'm I'm very experienced working with them, and there's never been a company that
I've not
figured
seen a
that
single
out.
one that's and someone said this last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever, is that the ATSs are built for the people who spend the money, and they're mostly corporations who don't care about business development.
Right.
Correct.
It's called ATS for a reason. It's an applicant tracking system. It's not a CRM.
We need a RMS, a recruitment management system.
There you go.
That's what it should be named. I've been saying that for ages because that's what we need. And I think we all had this conversation last week. Collectively, recruiters are awesome at doing workflow for recruiting campaigns and finding candidates and contacting them. But boy, we really struggle with the business development side. And, we need like a Salesforce.com feature on Loxo. I mean, it's close. It's almost there. I mean, I think if we just took the pipeline feature and added it to deals. So like you could add a candidate, then you have a deal in process. And if you did any pre-recruiting, or for example, let's say you just filled the role of VP of product development, and you have a pipeline of 1,200 of them. Now you go to your 50 healthcare software companies, and you can attach, your top 5 candidates that didn't make it, and pitch that candidate to all 50 of these companies, and now you have a workflow. It's so much easier.
No, I mean, look, I think we all agree. It just is trying to get Loxo to implement that, or for us to figure out how we can do that. But when you explain it that way, it makes my brain hurt because I can't figure out how to do that. Like, even within companies, there's no way to do what she's saying. There's no way to even unless you created this, like, these I guess lists of some sort. I don't know. I mean, it hurts my brain.
Yeah, what I've done, and to piggyback a little bit what Sandra was saying, is I work in the tech space, the IT space, and I've created lists where I have candidates that have specific technical skills, but their industry experience may be SaaS, software as a service. So what I'll do is I'll create a list that says software as a service or SaaS, and then any candidates I come across or that I'm working with, I'll put them into that list. So whenever I have a client that has a need and they're a software as a SaaS company, I've got potential candidates that have that industry experience. Now they have other technology experience, but their industry experience from a marketing perspective, marketability perspective, is within SaaS. So I do that. Or I found myself also creating tags in people records and candidate records. For example, if I know I have a candidate that could be a potential fit for a client, but they may not have a job right now, I'll go in and I'll create a tag that says, company name and then prospect. So I will do that. So anytime I need somebody for that kind of company, I'll just go in and either go by the tags or I'll go by the list. But I don't know any other shorter way around it.
Let me throw something out there, and you guys poke all the holes you want in it, because I'm just thinking about it right now. Is how if you could create a job, and bear with me in this, but it's not an active job. You know how they have active and they have they got active,
inactive. I have active, inactive, filled, and on hold.
Can you do a category that says MPC? Okay. And what you'd have to do is create that job and put MPC Tom Alacio.
You could, but then you don't have the reporting that you need.
Well, wait. I'm looking at this now. I'm saying if you put that, because I'm saying, do you have the campaign to get it out? And I think you do, and you have all the other abilities to do what you can do with an active one. It's like trying to keep it separate. But the only problem though is you have to create an MPC Tom Alassio company.
Well, see, and that's the thing. The other problem with that is if you create an inactive job, the only way you can get to it is to go to the company record. Otherwise, it's not visible.
No, you can go to the filter on the right-hand side.
Yeah, go to
go
the
to job
filters,
status.
select inactive. Yeah.
Oh, that way, yeah. I mean, I just closed out a job and I wanted to add some candidates to it because for future reference, but maybe it's the way I closed it out.
Yeah,
Well, you can add too, like I have 4 different things. So on my jobs, they're either active, inactive, filled, or on hold. Right.
Yeah,
and you can add as many as you want. So what Ernie's is saying, we add one that's called job marketing or whatever, right?
How about MPC?
And then you would create a job under the marketing or MPC side. And then I guess the job title is going to be marketing John Smith. The company's going to be Palermo Road or Tom Alassio or whatever, right? And then you're going to put under the sourced area, you're going to put all your 50 company clients you're going to call, like 50 hiring managers, right? Is that what you're saying, Ernie?
Yeah, and see, the thing is, it's like what you have to put a job description in there, right? So can you put in a resume in there where it says job description? And you put a resume in that section because you have to have a title. You're going to call it, the company name is going to be just temporary. It's going to be MPC Tom Alassio. And that'll show up on top.
Yeah,
So
but then you'd have to manually enter. You'd have to manually enter every company contact email you want to send that person to. How would you get around it? Because each job is based on a company and then contacts within the company. How would you get around that?
Oh, what you would do is you can mass email all the contacts. Right? You can go to a job right now and mass email all the contacts within sourced or within whatever workflow, right? So it's the same thing, right? So I already kind of got it, but I like what he's saying. But Sandra came things too is like we're doing something to make it work for us, and I guess it's fine because the workflow is not going to be the workflow we're used to, right? So what you would do is you would go into you would go into jobs, right? So I'm in jobs right now, and my title is going to be MPC Steve, right? And then once you do MPC Steve, the hiring company is going to
see that's where you got to create
Palermo Road, right? Yeah. So I have my own company in there, right? And then you don't need any entry. It doesn't matter. Contingent search doesn't matter. You come down here, you can put the job description, the guy's resume, in here, right? And then advanced, you wouldn't do. So I would. We'll just pretend it's on hold. We'll call that MPC for now, right? And then I'm the owner, right? And then that's it, right? So we're not published in the job board, so we're done.
How are you? Yeah, Tom. How are you sending? How are you reaching out? Yeah, go ahead.
Then I'm going to go over here. So this job's called what? MPC Steve, right? So I'm going to go to here. I'm going to add candidates, right? So add quick add from Loxo.
And you'll find your if you have your clients.
Now, these are my hiring managers, right? So let me refresh that. So these are my hiring managers. I just click select all, and then
but you can do that from a list. That's the thing that's
send email.
This is
now, hey, this is Tom Alassio. Check out this great candidate.
But
I just sent,
and that's the part that you can kind of slash it or change the title somewhat, so you can have like maybe they contacted you back or whatever they do.
Well, the better. Why don't we just do an outreach campaign? I mean, you could do an MPC call with an outreach campaign. That way you can build your prospect list and you can generate the messaging, because this just seems like it's going to be convoluted and confusing to me, because once you
Me
get that
too.
first email sent out, it's kind of dead in the water. But if you did it either through via a list, or you create an outreach campaign, give it an MPC name, MPC John Smith, you pull in your list of prospects, and then you can do subsequent, first you're going to do an email campaign, next you're going to do a phone call, next you're going to do
But you could do
whatever.
that with this too. You could just
Yeah.
add these all to a campaign right here. You add to a campaign, choose a
Yeah,
campaign,
that's
build it
perfect.
for me. And then now, let's just pretend that these are all hiring authorities. I send out the emails, right? And whoever replies back, but the thing is, like we're talking, the convoluted part is that this isn't like any way to really, because you're not submitted to the client. Go ahead.
Correct. Okay, so here's the thing about the outreach option, and I'm just going to put it out there for metrics reasons. You will see how many people opened that email. You will get percentages. You'll be able to track how well that candidate is being, responded to. So from a business perspective and understanding what kind of replies you're getting, you could start it here, but honestly, I wouldn't do that extra step. I would just set up an outreach campaign. And then once they become
from a list.
You can take a list of people, add them to the outreach campaign, generate your email, and you can do, follow-up tasks through outreach. And it can be automated. You could have a second MPC candidate. You could have a third, a fourth, you could do all kinds of things like that.
Well, it goes back to what we're talking about. If they were to clone this and call this a business development,
I agree.
The source, sent candidate, whatever. Because now, like as we were talking about, even if you could do it this way. You absolutely what Ernie said. You could make another level called MPCs, create a job, have them hidden because they're hidden. If they're not active, all the jobs that aren't active are hidden. So they wouldn't get all into your job space. And so when you're ready to go to business development, you would go to the little filter, click on MPC, you see all your MPC things, but it's still convoluted because these workflows don't match what we're trying to do, right? We're not submitting to client, we're submitting the client a candidate, right? We're final interview or whatever it is. So that's where it becomes convoluted. I agree that this is a workaround, but the workflow in your brain doesn't work.
And
that's the point.
If you're gonna change it anyway to do it, you would have the title change source and then maybe a / that says MPC send out. And that's your MPC one, kind of as a reminder to yourself, but I don't know if that'll work.
I think it's just it's gonna be confusing because you're going to be looking at workflow for business development differently than workflow for recruiting. They're two different jobs. They're two completely different jobs. And, that's why I've been begging, pleading, writing for years to Loxo to just set up a candidate pipeline on deals. And it can't be that hard. I mean, it just can't be. You could do this. It's
Would it be easier though to ask them to duplicate jobs and just name it differently? Would that be easier for them if we suggested that?
I don't know.
You can duplicate a job.
You can do
duplicate the entire job section, right? So to take this job section and they go into engineering and add another
workflow.
My brain's not working. They add another section, a whole other section called business development that looks identical to jobs, except it's named. The workflows are different. That's it.
Right. They need a business development module.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Because we need to monitor our business development metrics. We need to know how we're doing, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong as business owners, and having people we manage and our own workflow. I know somebody else I think is on this group that actually purchased Salesforce because he gave up. I think
Kale,
right now,
right? Is that you, Kale?
Yeah, that was Kale. And I'm just saying my workaround right at the moment is I'm building a list. And then once I start making my campaigns, I'll do an outreach campaign and I'm working on the content for that. But I think that's going to be my option at this point. But I just wish the powers that be at Loxo would invite us in and listen to us, because I don't think they're hearing the stuff that we need a business development module. And the deals isn't really that, it's not really that sophisticated. And
Is
I'm
that
going
what
to
those
say
are
it like
called?
that too.
What are the things on the side called? We have people, jobs, deals. Are those called modules? What is a proper term for those sections?
I call them modules. I don't know what Loxo calls them.
Yeah, I would call them modules as well. But that's my 2
I'm sending
cents.
Matt an email.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to the VP of product development about this, and she thought it was a great idea. And, you know, do you want to be on a committee? Well, that was the last I ever heard from her. So I've done videos and showed them exactly how simple it could be. And I just think about it, and it hurts my brain to know they've got all the technology built. It's done.
Right.
See, the other thing within Loxo, what they don't do is they don't call A and B the same thing. Sometimes you'll have workflow, and that's not a word that's no one's using. And then in their instructions, they'll say pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And you know, like, why are they not a pipeline's a pipeline? Help me. And that's, but I'm looking at the settings to see where that would go in terms of, and there's nothing within the settings except under workspace.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, Tom, on the example you used earlier of creating a fake job and putting the candidate's credentials in the job description area.
Right.
Okay. I'm wondering if the Chat GPT, if you do the outreach campaign and enable the AI, I wonder if it'll pick up the information in the job description, which is really the candidate marketing information you're sending out to hiring authorities. I wonder if it picks it up and realizes it's not a job, and I wonder if it will help you to further build out the marketability of that.
That's
candidate.
A really good question.
You have to play around with it and see.
That's a good
Well,
question.
what you're doing is
go ahead,
creating like you're creating an MPC email, right?
Right. Yeah, you're creating a job based on a specific MPC, like Tom used as an example.
Right.
And instead of in the job description, you're not putting the job description, you're putting information about that specific MPC that you're going to send.
Right.
So the AI part of Loxo would pick up the job description and then build out through the AI.
Is that what the AI does? Does the AI take the job description?
It's triggering off the job description. Yeah, it's triggering off the job description.
Okay, so if I take this guy's resume and I paste it into the job description section and then create a outreach campaign from it, let's see what it does. That's a really interesting thing. Let's see. I'll paste it here.
Just be careful, because it may be sending it out to those people. I noticed with the outreach campaign with AI, you cannot set a delay like you can in normal outreach campaigns. Once you click active, it goes out right away.
Well, you can set a delay. What you do? No, you can. What you do is
after the fact, you can
first. No, you set the first email to have send out in 10 minutes, and then you go.
Maybe I'll show you here. Okay, maybe no. You're probably right. You're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Hold on, I get it.
Like the regular outreach campaigns, you can set a delay. I think I didn't do it because I think it defaults to immediate send it out. If you don't set a delay when you're doing it from a job, when you're setting up an outreach campaign from the job. Go ahead.
In the in-call messages that we have here, I did a prompt that helped me create
it's not working.
It's not working?
Now look what it's doing.
No.
So this is a job, right? It's Palermo. It's a job is ASDF, right? And it's I posted the guy's resume in there, and it's just jibber jabber. And this guy's an engineer, and it's a sales development
Right.
Thing for them. So it doesn't even make any sense.
Try on that first stage or second stage, hit try again and see if it does a better job.
How do you get here, Tom?
Pardon me?
How did you get to that window?
You go into jobs and you go to auto add to campaign and then pick the chat GPT. Why isn't it let me do
Try again. That's weird.
yeah.
You broke it, Tom.
It's
Yeah, I
right.
think
It's
you
still
did.
writing.
He broke the
Still
internet.
writing.
You're going to bring down everybody's Loxo now. Way to go, Tom.
Yeah, and you're right though. Right here it says no delay, and you can do this. Okay, so do one.
I got
do
you.
1 day, right?
Right.
And then save it, and then that way you can go back in. Once you're done, it won't immediately send it. You can go back in and then change what you need to change.
Right.
So it's still writing here. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah, I broke it. But yeah, Kale, so you're in a job, right? It doesn't matter
Yep.
what job you're in. You go to any workflow, you click on the 3 little dots and hit auto add to campaign, choose campaign, and then AI powered build it for me. And then it'll take your job description and make a 7 stages, guys? I can't remember. 7 stage or 8 stage, whatever it is.
Set to 9 right now.
Okay. Yeah, it'll make a whole entire, text. It's 9. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's a 9
add your
stage.
call
Yeah.
list, text them, email them, and whatnot.
But the only thing people respond to is like, "Hey, can I call you at 2?" No, you can call me at 5. Right? Like we don't need to build essays.
Yeah, I agree. I
people.
like.
It's like either they know your brand
Melanie sent
or
out.
not.
Yeah, Melanie sent out this. We talked about this last week. Melanie in my office sent out this really simple email, and got 3 new clients and 20 job orders from it. It was so ridiculously, stupidly simple, and they jumped all over it because it basically just said, "Hey, we got done doing a search, and a couple candidates came late into the process. They have this background. Would you be interested in talking to them?" And she got tons of responses and 3 real solid companies that were like, "Yeah." And she's got 2 really good. Ernie just posted it. Is that it, Ernie? Is that the one?
No. That's not.
That's okay. Yeah, no, that's a different one. But yeah, she got it. It's still broke. It won't stop writing here.
Yeah, you might.
I broke it, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
But that was a good idea, though. I guess But it's I think too. And Kale said something. We rely on ChatGPT too much, right? Like all of a sudden it's the new toy, and yeah, it's great. It'll write stuff for you. It'll do stuff, but Melanie's email that I got from Kelly was was stupidly simple, and it has gotten more results than any other thing we've ever sent.
I've seen and heard statistics by content people and email people and people that are in the business of doing that. And what I've read is that when you're trying to reach out to somebody, you want to speak almost at like an 8th grade level, because it's going to get their attention versus all this fluff and blurb crap that everybody puts in their emails and their messages. Just dummy it down to an extent where it gets their attention, put some white space in between there so it breaks it up, because 9 times out of 10, I'm talking from a candidate perspective, they're looking at it on their mobile device. Hiring managers and decision makers are probably on their laptop or desktop. It's on their bigger screen. So put a little bit of white space in there. But yeah, I've heard dummy it down and make it like a 5th grade or 8th grade level. And you could do that within ChatGPT, write this or create it at a 5th grade level and see what it does.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Uptick. They have, what reading level do you want this to sound like? And Uptick's writer will do that for you.
What I tried to do was put what I had written out. It's kind of screwing it up. But I'll get back to it here. Oh, probably. No, if you go on ChatGPT, put those instructions that I've written there, and then find a resume and attach it there. Tell me what you get.
Oh yeah, the
conf-
make a
it-
pitch for me
it-
or make an email for me. Yeah,
And
it'll do that. I mean,
That's what I'm saying is you do that, and it'll describe it, and then you can send that out, and you can tell to shorten it or whatever. But if you play around with that, you can just, it's got to have all those instructions there to keep it, you know. And I tried to plug it in here, but it only allows me so much space, and it goes beyond. But
Bard, which is Google's chat. Has anybody signed up for that yet? Bard, BARD. That's Google's ChatGPT version, and it's getting better.
Well, that's
I
what
think
I've
that's
heard.
what I have. I think that's what I have.
I've heard people. You're going to have one side or the other. People are going to complain about one or the other, and they're going to find which their preference is. Like, just like your you prefer Bing or Chrome or Edge or whatever. You're going to find that debate going on all the time.
It's interesting. You're on Bard. Did I ask it to do not mention the candidate's name, do not include company name, include years of experience, and it says the first thing, hi, my name is Ernie, whatever. Candidate name is a seasoned sales professional. So it immediately left the name in there.
Yeah, but then you tell it to remove that piece.
Yeah.
Remove the name and remove the name and replace it with our candidate. And it's like it's again like you're knowing that you got to write this whole letter or whatever, and you don't want to write that. You get it in there, and then as your administrative assistant brings it to you, you're never going to accept that version of it. You're going to tell it to modify it, and then you're going to you got to talk to it like that. Replace this with that, change this with that, take this out and put that, and then it'll come up.
By the time you do that, you could have written it yourself.
Not me. Not me. I'm a dumbass.
No, but I mean,
So
you can write it. You can write it yourself, but even when you write an email and you tell it, improve this, it will improve what you've written. And I found that I find that to be very helpful because it makes it a lot nicer. Because sometimes I'm pissed off. Like, what do you mean you rejected?
Yeah, exactly.
You asshole. And then I'll say write it and say thank you or do something.
I gotta interject real quick. I asked it to write it like I was 10 years old, and it changed it to, hi, my name is Tom. I'm a 10-year-old. I'm writing to you today to introduce you to a great candidate for the position of. My friend is really smart and funny. It's also really good at selling things. She sold me lemonade stand for $50.
No, but there you got to refer to this. You got to refer to the school. You got to say like you're at a third grade level, not that you're a 10-year-old.
I know that was a 10-year-old. I put a 10-year-old and it did that. So.
Oh, I mean, you can tell it to write it like a homie. Write it like.
It's like Stephen Hawking's. I did that one. I did Steve, and I did somebody else.
I did Samuel Jackson.
Oh, I bet that was good. You gotta introduce this motherfucker. He's the best motherfucking sales guy I've ever the motherfucking seen.
Does anybody have any third-party solutions that they have integrated with their Loxo that's not on the canned list that they offer integrations like HubSpot and Seek? Have you gotten any special approval to have an API for Loxo through a third party?
Yeah, I got to talk about that, Tom. I asked about Zoom Info because I'm having some mismatches with my imports, and they told me I had to get a third-party API writer to do that, but it would work.
Loxo told you that?
Yeah.
If
Zoom
they don't
Info
have the
should probably have
integration-
their own API. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you have to have an API code.
It's an open API. Yeah, it's an open API. So if they don't have an API code for that particular company, like, okay, so Upticks automatically integrates with Loxo if you get the API code. I asked Loxo for the API code. I put it into Upticks. And now I can go into Upticks, do a outreach, and click add from Loxo, and it'll populate all my jobs and all my candidates, right? So that's how that works. But because Loxo has an open API, Zoom Info doesn't currently integrate with Loxo, but they're more than happy to allow you to have someone write an API for that. I don't know anything about that. I'm not a techie guy, but from my understanding is like any company, if you want to hire an API writer, will do it so you can integrate. So I've done Mailgun, I've done Upticks, I've done
what does Upticks do for you?
MailChimp. Well, Upticks is another like Interseller or Source Whale or any of those things. And I got into it because of Kelly's meeting a couple months ago where she showed us how Interseller shows you that you can open an email. Someone looks at an email 5, 6, 7 times in a 2-day period. You know, I was like, oh, that's awesome. I thought that was a great selling point. It really didn't work the way I thought it was going to work. I did a couple of outreaches. I'm not a big outreach guy because I'm a dinosaur, but I still pay for it because I have a deal with a bunch of us all chip in for it. Their AI writer is better than any AI writer out there. What it does, it not only will it use ChatGPT to fix your email, but it will tell you how many spam words you have, how many power words you have, how many me words you have, what grading level or what reading level it's on, how long it takes to read it, how many words, how many paragraphs. It'll take a sentence and make it more pain-based or more
we get it,
problem-solving based.
Right. So how does it integrate with Loxo? What is it going to do?
It's short your talk.
It makes it
so
more
Is it
good.
going to auto-populate? Is it going to auto-populate that verbiage
So
into the
if I do
candidate
an
record?
outreach, if I do an outreach,
All
I can
right.
go to the Uptick where you click and it says, how do you add people to this outreach? I click on this one section and it populates all my Loxo jobs. And then I click on the job and then all the candidates that are in that job will go automatically into that outreach.
Through Uptick.
Through Upticks. Yeah. So you go to Upticks, you create a
Right. But
outreach.
how does it populate in Loxo, or does it not populate in Loxo?
No. It populates in Upticks, not So it grabs everything from Loxo. I'm sorry. Yeah. It
Right.
takes the
But it's
candidate.
not bringing. Yeah. I might see
No.
that. I got you.
Is it
All right.
is it recording within Loxo?
The
Is it-
emails, yeah. Go ahead, Kale.
Sandra, going back to info, a fellow I know, he's been using Lay.io for Zoom Info Loxo integration. Okay, so
Lay.io.
Lay.io,
Okay.
I shared it in the chat.
I'll have to, if you could message me, I'm driving right now, so I can't write that down.
Okay.
But I'd appreciate that info because
Yeah, but $140 a month or something though. So
that is
but
What does
pricey.
it do?
it'll also do your sequences including all of your LinkedIn messaging, right? So it'll send your connection request, it'll visit. So it's kind of like LinkedIn Helper and email and stuff combined.
But is it
I see.
recording in Loxo or no?
Yeah.
No, it does.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Not everything, but some like it. They've done the custom programming for. So they've looked at the API and they've set it up for Loxo and they've set it up for Zoom Info. They don't say that on their website, and I think it's built by a former search firm owner.
Oh,
Doesn't Source Whale do something similar where they have a integration with Loxo, so you can go to LinkedIn using Source Whale's Chrome extension and put all the candidates into Loxo as well?
Fast? I haven't.
I don't know about that.
I'm doing another demo next week. I'm probably not going to buy anything, but that was the one thing that excited me about it is so Chrome extension does one at a time, and Source Whale has either 10 or 20 at a time.
oh wow.
And puts them right in Loxo for you, which I thought was kind of really cool in my opinion.
And you're talking
And
about
also
LinkedIn profiles.
recognizes duplicates.
So if you did that, would you get rid of like sales SQL?
Probably. I mean, I'm paying, but I'm paying $40 for sales QL, and I get 1,000 lookups. Sourcewell $250 a month for 250 lookups. So it's one of those, like, I really don't see the benefit, because Sourcewell sells you on their outreach campaign. They're like upticks, they're like interseller, they're like hubs, they're an outreach campaign. They have the cadences and the steps and all that stuff, and they integrate with Loxo. But what really excited me when I first looked at it was how using their Chrome extension on a, let's say I go to Sales Navigator and do a search and I have 100 candidates. If the first 25, I can click the Loxo, I do one at a time. But if I go onto Sourcewell and I can click 25, it'll say, hey, 3 of these are duplicates. We're not going to import them, which I thought was kind of cool, right? Like, so, but again, was it worth the 250? It may be now, I don't know, but back then it wasn't.
250 a month?
Yeah, a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Pretty hefty. That's pretty
Only-
hefty.
So it comes with
Only.
250. Comes with 250 lookups. If you don't want the lookups, it's 175 a month.
I get a question.
Still a lot of money, which again,
Yeah.
It still is, yeah. For a one-man shop, it is.
The linked helper.
Yes.
Can you do an MPC campaign there?
Yes, you can. It does have the ability to allow you to write you can create your own message.
Mhm.
So you can actually do step 1, send out a LinkedIn connection request. Step 2, say, thank you for joining my network. And step 3, by the way, I have this candidate, yada, yada, yada. Step 4, would you like to, whatever you want, you can add as many sequences and then you can export that list once you've gotten them to accept your message, and then you can download it and import it into Loxo.
Because my thinking is this: is if you do an outreach campaign, you have the outreach campaign that you're doing within emails and text and calling through Loxo.
Right.
Through Loxo. But then you can do a simultaneous one running through Linked Helper.
Yes,
Am
you
I
could.
correct?
The only thing is you're not going to get the metrics, but other than that, it does do a lot of that babysitting for you. And you can create as many messages as you want, and you can have the cadence be every day, every 5 days, whatever you want. It allows, and it will prevent you from doing duplicate messages.
Can it also? Am I correct in saying that within Loxo you cannot send a message in LinkedIn in the InMail? You have to
Yes,
do that.
you can.
No, not through Loxo.
Yeah, you can.
no, you can't.
Can
No,
you?
Loxo allows you to send emails.
Yeah, as long as
Through
you
the
have,
outreach.
as long as the LinkedIn URL profile is in the person's record in Loxo,
Oh, I
it
didn't know that.
recognizes that and it'll send it. Now, if they're a first level connection, it doesn't charge it as, it doesn't recognize it as an in-mail, so it doesn't affect an in-mail credit. But they are actual, I believe they are actual in-mails, not connection messages. I could be wrong. I don't know
Correct.
what.
You're
I don't
correct.
know
They're
how
not connection
block-
requests. Yeah. They're not
Right.
connection requests. And and I like what Ernie and we were talking about is, I think a great campaign is you send out 300 connection requests, right? Wait 4 days, then send out an email campaign. Hey, I sent you a connection request a couple of days ago, making sure you saw it. Wanted to see if you'd be interested in this job. And then maybe 3 days later from that, use LinkedIn Helper to send, hey, I sent you a connection request. Thanks for connecting. I also sent you an email. Did you see it? Or something like that. I wish Loxo had that option.
Okay, so you're
Well,
telling
you could set up an out. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ernie.
you're talking about using both systems, the LinkedIn Helper and the
Because LinkedIn Helper doesn't send emails, so you can't do both, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
That's a
the
good
thing.
point.
Nobody does that.
No, I just export the list and then I import it into Loxo, and then I can create an email campaign, or you can do an outreach, you can do a list, whatever you want at that point. But yes,
That's a great idea. Sandra. Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that better because once you do the connection request campaign you're doing, after a couple of days, then you download it,
Yep.
import it into Loxo, and then start a new campaign or a call list or whatever. Okay, yeah, that's
Correct.
actually not a bad idea. And LinkedIn Helpers, and then you could do that with Jobin, but Jobin's much more expensive. LinkedIn Helper is cheaper.
Oh yeah, it's only $120 a quarter.
Yeah, and that's for their highest level, right?
Yeah, that's the professional version. And you, like I said, once you get somebody's connection, you can actually go into Linked Helper and export all of their contacts that if they show them.
Yeah, that
So
was
let's say-
crazy. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can import that. You know, you can do a sort in a spreadsheet. Then you can import it into Loxo, you know, and however you want to do it. But
Could you repeat that again?
you with Linked Helper, you can